Hello everyone, and welcome back. It is time for yet again another fantastic edition of the Misfits Racing League. It is the MRL Tier 2 division, and we are heading to a very iconic circuit. It is now the third of 5 races this week around Silverstone. It's the British Grand Prix, and joining me, as always, for the Tier 2 action, well, Unicorn, I'd say close to home for this one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, very close to home. A bit too close to home if you go and watch the Apex stream, if anyone's seen that mistake I made. But yeah, Silverstone, home Grand Prix, like you said, a very, very iconic track. Pretty much the birthplace of F1. It's everyone loves this track. IRL, I've heard a lot of things though. A lot of drivers complaining about driving it. I can't say I blame them. It's a very tricky circuit to get right lap after lap. So it can always provide a little bit of excitement, a little bit of a surprise when you go ahead and, watch these races.
That's right, Silverstone, a very exciting circuit, but as you said, there has been a little bit of rumbling around some of, we'll say the paddock, some of the drivers not too keen on this one, but of course it is the 12th round out of 22. We have Hungary next week, following that Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan, United States, Mexico, Brazil, and of course Abu Dhabi for the finale, the 22nd round of season 4. Massive shout out to our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing. Of course, you can check them out via their link in the chat or via the panels down below on their website for some amazing quality sim racing rigs and products. They are really helping out the sim racing community with some great quality stuff, affordable stuff from beginner all the way to advanced. I think it's very rare that you don't find what you need over there. Now, let's take a look at what really everyone wants to see now. It's Azir, Neon, Crampy, the top 3 for this Drivers' Championship as we come into round 12. Alfa Romeo, Williams, and McLaren are the top 3 in the Constructors, just the same, just not in the exact same order, because Crampy and Scars right now, well, they're 3 and 4 for Alfa Romeo. They have the Red Bulls right behind them, and things are starting to really heat up in this grid as we come through now into the middle zone of this calendar. Of course, with that being said, we're just about ready to go racing here, but I am loving all of the tight fighting that's going on in this championship. And we're going to see this continue through into this race, of course, for Tier 2. One thing that we talk about is that combined constructors, which has been developing beautifully. Of course, all these drivers, just the 2 drivers per division, but it is a team of 10 drivers per constructor, as it were. So in your case, you're with Renault, and I'm with Ferrari, so it's a lot of fun to have that team dynamic. Unfortunately, I didn't do my team any good here around Silverstone in the end last night. Yeah, I crashed. So hopefully there's no rain to make things a little slippy for anyone through turn 1. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can't say Renault's any happier with me. I may have finished the race, but it was a couple laps behind everyone else in that one. So, I think, well, if there's a commentator's curse, Jeff, I think we had it ourselves last night. So cursed around Silverstone, it would seem. But we are ready. We've got all 20 drivers ready and raring to go in the lobby. So with that being said, we can hope that these guys have a bit better luck than we did, and we see some great racing action from the Tier 2 grid.
It'll be a lot of fun to finally get into this racing action. Of course, we do have, I think, 1 driver change on the grid this week, as Kai Bacchini, the longtime Mercedes driver for, I'd say, Tier 2 MRL action, has decided to step down from his seat, and now Eruption will be replacing him for the remainder of the season. So everyone give a warm welcome to Eruption over at Mercedes, filling in full time.
Yeah, absolutely, Kai. Been around for a long time, but stepping down out of that seat, Eruption, I forget where we saw him. I think he was reserving in a Ferrari not too long ago, and he had a pretty exciting race. I want to say APAC division is where I saw him race, but definitely an impressive driver to step into that seat. And, well, we were just talking about the constructors and the combined constructors. Mercedes will be looking for him to do well here in his debut drive here at Silverstone. What a track to debut on, very iconic. As we load into 18-minute qualifying, what is the weather doing? It's very sunny, as is a little bit atypical with the British weather, but here we are, sunny in the qualifying. We'll get a weather report hopefully in just a few moments from someone in the pit wall.
Well, we had rain in both races yesterday. We had rain at the start, moving to dry conditions in the Tier 3 racing action. America's the opposite equation, where it started dry for a long stint near to the final third of that race, we'll say, where the rain started to come down, and I do believe everybody did end up switching on intermediate compound tires in America's. I just didn't get that far. Really?
Well, there are engines firing up. It's a dry campaign, so we shouldn't be seeing the intermediate tires make an appearance. But we have got cars popping out on track. It looks like, unless anyone overtakes him, it's Neon. Currently second in the standings. First out on track, and well, he had an excellent outing last time out in Austria, Striff. It was dominant from start to finish for him.
Yeah, Neon right now, 7th on the timing tower, having a little fun putting his name backwards, so everyone in the chat, well, you'll all know which one Neon is, to say the least. And I say that now. We'll see if he's able to take pole position here. He is definitely one of the drivers coming into this race with a very good, well, favor of speed.
Yeah, and well, this track, it's, you know, it's all about consistency around here. There's so many corners where just it's difficult to keep it pointing in the right direction if you're, you know, that's a concentration and even just a lack of practice. It's so much different to where we've been previously that through here, coming down through cops, it's, especially on a full tank of fuel, sometimes you see a driver lift just because of how shaky it can get, and it all depends on the setup, of course, as well as Maggots and Beckett's. We're seeing Neon through here right now. It's all just very, very tricky to keep the car stable around this track lap after lap. For qualifying, you only need one good lap to put yourself at the top.
Well, we'll have to see what he's able to do as we come through Stowe now. Through Vale, he's getting things set up, dialed in, slowing that car down. He really just wants to come through this chicane and get himself the best possible run out through Club. Here we go, and this will be the first official lap of the session. Why don't you take us through it, Unicorn?
Yeah, well, down into turn one, Abby, and well, there's an invalidation straight away, Striff. It looks, hasn't dropped the lap just yet, but well, it won't count. I think it's the Red Bull of Jake behind him.
Yeah, we'll jump on with him.
On a valid flyer. Coming through the loop, getting a bit shaky there as he comes through and into Aintree now. So already we're starting to see some of the top drivers in this division struggle with this track now on his way down into Brooklyn's this long looping left-hander into the right-hander of Luffield now in the Red Bull, and he's looking a bit more composed than he was at the start of the lap through the slight right-hander of Woodcote down toward Cots. Well, I've already mentioned it is so easy to spin out here if you're not being too careful, and there's an inviting wall on the right-hand side if you are caught out now coming through the famous Maggot and Beckett section. And so far, so good for the Red Bull, switching it nicely between the corners. Now, DRS enabled as it comes out of Chapel down onto the hanger straight. A brilliant place for an overtake in the race. But here in qualifying, you just want to be going down it as fast as possible and nail the entry into Stowe as he comes down past the pit entrance where you see Neon diving back in into the Vale chicane for the Red Bull driver, and he's navigated that one nicely, keeping the gears nice and high to maximize traction as he comes through Club and across the line. It's a 124.3 for the Red Bull. A nice time to start us off here.
Mark comes through, setting second quickest as Tuptus in the Racing Point will go through a 24.292. Both Racing Points today, Lil Shen and Tuptus on the grid, are here in a reserve capacity for, of course, what we call the Pirates, the reserve drivers in the combined constructors. So no one looking to fly the Racing Point flag today. They're hanging skull and crossbones, it would appear, at the hands of the pirate leader, Mr. Jack Sparrow, as we call him, Mr. Some Idiot. A lot of fun with the dynamics going on through in the combined constructors. Max O'Connor at 24.9 to the line, as now 12 drivers with time set.
Well, I don't know what's happened, but Crampy is out, Striff, as here, just coming past. Crampy's crashed it. Coming out of Stowe. I don't quite know how he's managed that, to be honest, but He's not far from the pit entrance, but he is out, and it's his home Grand Prix. And for someone who's chasing down that championship title, that's not how you want to start the session. Azir, a 124.4 for him. And well, Swifty J, he hasn't long gone fastest, a 124.1 in the Red Bull.
Liam right now coming through sector 2. Take a look at the gap right now from first down to 12th position. Less than a second.
What? There's too many people out on a flyer right now. Liam, he's on his way through the Vale chicane. Now coming out of club. Where can the Avatari put himself at 16th, a 125.9. Not a brilliant lap from him. Eruption rejoining the session, but Liam, 125.9 on the soft compounds as well. There's a couple of medium runners ahead of him, both the Renaults there, the yellow cars on the yellow walled tires. But he'll be looking to improve on that at some point during the session.
Yeah, a lot of drivers coming into the pit lane now. Not too many runners on the move. Pole position at 24.114 from Swifty, and he'll be very happy with that time, getting ahead of the Ferrari Pavel. Up to third for now.
And the two Haas drivers as well, 4th and 5th right now, and the two Red Bulls 1st and 6th. So some nice points for a couple of these constructors. The Ferraris as well, the Williams. Both of those teams have got all cars in the points as well at the moment. And well, it stands good standing qualifying, Silverstone.
Here goes
qualifying
Neon.
non-essential.
This time not cutting turn 1. Big slide though.
Yeah, really revving the car as he came out of village there. But now, down the Wellington straight, we'll just see, is it just a speed focus setup? There are a few straights around here where you do want to be fast, but it is at the same time a very corner heavy circuit.
Setup looks very loose
in the corners.
Very loose coming through Brooklands and Luffield. Heavy fuel. I hope this car is able to take a heavy fuel load and make it around some of these high-speed corners without too much weight shift. You never know what could happen through cops on the opening of a race.
Yeah, well, I've seen Neon, and it is qualifying practice. And, well, I'll say this, he's done some very impressive times prior to this event. Whether he can pull one off here in the real thing, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But right now, I can attest to the fact that his practice time would put him well and truly out in front of the rest of the field. Here he comes around the final corner, and it's a 123.7. That's 4/10 faster, and I know he could go faster. Scars a 123.8, a similarly impressive time for the Alfa Romeo.
Well, this grid looking very fast now as the 23s have been reached. Neon on that provisional pole position. We'll see how he copes through the pressure of the opening lap should he stay there. After that turn 1 invalidation on his first run, then the 23.7 on his second run. He is looking quite strong. Mark now.
Yeah, Mark. Flying in the AlphaTauri. His teammate Liam also out of the top 10 right now. A 10th found through Sector 1. And that would see him beat Aliens, but actually it wouldn't because Aliens is nearly 2/10 faster. So needs to find a little bit of time through Sectors 2 and 3 as he hugs the inside coming through Woodcote there. And again, comfortable coming through Cops, but on the exit, well, there's that big shake. He's managed to keep it out of the wall, but that is lap over. And I think it's Tuptus behind him in the Racing Point, currently in P5, coming through Maggots and Beckett's just behind the AlphaTauri, and he's going to get a nice little tow from his rival.
That could be very bad. Give a tow to your rival like that. I mean, if anyone saw Drive to Survive, we saw what happened with Bottas.
The difference being Max Verstappen didn't head straight back to the pits. Tuptus, on the other hand, Racing Point's called it. Wasn't happy with the rest of that lap, it would seem.
Let's take a look at the Williams squad, of course. The Williams team, quite known for the British Grand Prix, given it is one of their home, well, it is their home Grand Prix. Aliens, Azir. Well, Aliens will be flying down the hangar straight now.
Yeah, a lot of drivers. We're over halfway through this qualifying session now, and well, it being a fairly long lap, especially coming off of the back of Austria, less chances to, you know, absolutely nail it. Swifty right now, he's coming out of Chapel on the hangar straight. Again, another driver who is his home Grand Prix for a lot of Brits, not only on this grid but in MRL as a whole, myself included. And now through the Vale chicane, he was on pole at one point during this session. Can he re-establish himself at the top? He can't. It's a 124 flat. It's half a tenth found for him.
Enters. Like he's on an in lap here. 24.376 in the McLaren. His teammate on pole position on another out lap. So Neon will be looking to improve. 6.5 minutes remaining in the session as far as our clock is reading. There is a little bit of desync, if I'm not mistaken, as Unicorn's hosting, so we may have a little bit of a lights delay at race start.
Yeah, the desync, always a little bit unfortunate, but it is the way. It's a problem we have to, you know, deal with at the moment, but we just get Crampy sorted with a new invite so he can get back in, but obviously he's already out of this session, so it won't make too much of a difference on the end of things. Pavel right now, he's on a flyer. Neon's on an outlap as well, just ahead of the Ferrari. So we'll see what Pavel can do here. Right now, sitting in P5. And the Scuderia, DRS enabled. And there's, well, is that Neon? Neon's had a massive crash on his outlap.
Well, that's not what you want to be doing in qualifying. That can really, really unsettle the nerves ahead of a race. There's some damage on that front left.
Massive spin coming off the wall. I'm not quite sure how he's managed that. Maybe some dirty air coming out of Chapel, but either way, not good. A nice knock to his confidence. And we've seen it a couple of times. We saw it last week, though. He spun in qualifying. Pavel, he goes fourth last. It's a 123.9 and fourth person to sneak in under that 124 mark. Yeah, Neon. Well, he's already provisional pole strife and he's looking quite comfortable at the top. But if Jake can get a good lap in and Neon's not able to do anything about it, yeah, that could have really hurt him.
Well, taking a look at Uptus right now, he is a reserve over at Racing Point. I had a little bit of a word with Rutanius ahead of this race, and well, he's quite the analyst, as I'm sure you know. He was giving me a little bit of an indication that neither of the Racing Points were going to be present today. But he was giving me also a very clear indication that he thinks that this race is going to be down between the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo Scars. But Jake right now, showing some good pace, just out in front of that Alfa Romeo by a millisecond.
Well, we saw an Alfa Romeo tear this track to shreds yesterday at him. Just absolutely dominating the Tier 3 race. His teammate Scars, I'm sure the bike construction would be very happy if they saw a repeat of that here in Tier 2. As Tuptus is flying down into Stowe right now. Racing Point Reserve. Well, he's coming to the pits again, not happy with his lap. It's the second time he's done that in a row.
Every time we go on board with him, he doesn't want to show us what he's got when he crosses that line. Darian Alfie's running. I think Mark was flying. He looks like he has invalidated it, and he will be on his way in through the pit lane, but it is Darian coming through Sector 2, Maggots, Beckett's Chapel. He has run quite wide. He's blown that lap on the exit.
Don't quite know why he's on the medium compound tire. I'd be very impressed if he snuck into it on the mediums, the top 10. But not to be for the Ferrari, unless he really wants to start on that medium compound.
Henry's on a flyer now. XTXP, I do believe, in the Renault has begun a run as well.
Yeah, Henna's right now coming through Luffield, and well, there's a big loss of traction from the rear. A nice little slide for him, caught it well, but it's still going to be too much time lost, I think.
Yeah, he definitely dropped that lap. He has to be very mindful now as XTXP coming through cops behind him will be pushing.
And again, we might see, you know, someone able to find a tow, but I think that's why Hennes is pushing here to not give the Renault a tow down this big hanger straight. It's so long that, you know, a tow can really benefit the driver behind. You can see there Hennes teaming into the pit lane. XTXP carrying on to the Vale chicane. His first lap time was done on the medium compound, as was his teammate Rackety's. So this is his first soft lap, I do believe. And there it is, 9/10 gain, a 124.6 for him, just 200ths behind Max O'Connor in the Mercedes.
Gap on the grid right now from first down to 17th position, where the AlphaTauri driver of Mark is sitting, is 1.021. XTXP getting away on track now as someone moves through on the inside. That is a Red Bull on an outlap. That's Jake. Behind him, a Racing Point coming through a lot of traffic. Fortunately, not Lil Shen. It was Tuptus on another outlap. However, Lil Shen flying through Stowe. We'll see if he is able to improve, as he is not coming into the pit lane like we have seen Tuptus' teammate do on this qualifying session.
Absolutely, I think that was Hugh Sam just improved into P7. Eruption in the Mercedes, sorry, he's failed to improve through sector 2. 1 and 1.5 seconds, 1.5 tenths down. It's a long time to try and regain through the final 2 sectors, because even if you do improve on your final 2 sector times, the amount of time lost through that first sector could really be a problem. Azier, the Spaniard in the Williams, half a second gain strip, strikes him up into P2. And that's a bit of a warning sign to the likes of Jake, Scars who are behind him, and Neon as well, who's just started a flyer in the McLaren ahead.
This will be a crucial lap for Neon. If Jake or Scars are able to do anything about the 123.768.
Yeah, Neon about to come down to the timing line to see what his first sector 1 is. He's found a little bit of time. It's not quite a tenth, but it's still, when a lap time is already that fast, that's substantial enough. He's on a low fuel run, a little bit of a wobble as he comes through Woodcote, but he's soldiering on. And this could be an absolutely monstrous time from the Dutchman. Through Cops, now down towards Maggots and Beckett's. This can really make or break a lap. We've got people collecting the flag now, but the session is delayed by about 25 seconds for us. Nicely done from Neon. He's found more time. He's over a 10th gain. This is on, well, potentially even a 23.5. It really depends on how this final sector goes for him, though. This is absolutely huge so far. Down into the Vale chicane. The McLaren comes. His teammate Henner's ahead, but he's already flagged the session, so he is done. And here he goes, a 123.5 it is, 2/10 pretty much gain for Neon. A very impressive lap time. Jake, well, what can he do? He's found a little bit of time. He finds the Spaniard. It's a 123.7, 1.5 tenths gain for him. Scars, he improves as well, 1/10, a 123.7. Again, knocking his ear down a place.
Swifty has gained a 10th, but that will not land him a pole position. We'll see if it gets him in front of Pavel. See what he can do now, as all of these drivers are starting to catch the checkered flag here at the end of the running.
Here he goes through the final couple of corners. Hugh Sam, he goes 5th, and he gets instantly beaten by Swifty. Swifty just a little bit off Azier, able to get Pavel and Hugh Sam, so he helps himself into P5. And with that, Striff, I think we're just about wrapped up for qualifying.
Yeah, Neon on pole position. It was a 23.571. The fastest lap of this qualifying coming out of the McLaren. It's Jake in the second position, starting on the front row for Red Bull at 23.730, 500ths of a second ahead of Scars, who will take third in the Alfa Romeo. It's Azir in fourth, Swifty rounding out your top five. Go down through the rest of the grid in just a moment.
Well, Leon, a 123.5, he was very, very quick in qualifying last week, and we saw him just tear away from start to finish. Even the safety car couldn't stop him. Is the tail going to be different today? There's a poll up in the chat for how many full safety cars we'll see here around Silverstone. But there it is, the qualifying results, just Neon on top.
Jake there lining up next to him on the front row, Scars. The South African Alfa Romeo in third. We have Azir, Spaniard, who has been having a very, very, well, good season, we'll say, for Williams. Swifty there in fifth, who has, well, he took a podium recently in France, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll see what he's able to do here today. Hugh Sam there in sixth, Pavel seventh, John eighth, Tuptus in ninth, Eruption in 10th on his full-time debut at, well, Mercedes. We have Mark Alfie, Darian Alfie, excuse me, enters Lil Shen, Aliens, Max O'Connor, XTXP, Rackety, Liam, and Crampy. And I want to take a second to talk about Crampy. He had an issue in this qualifying. He has a ton of pace, of course. We've seen it throughout the season. He's had multiple podium finishes. We'll see what he is able to do here for his home race around Silverstone. Of course, before we jump into this formation lap, my name is Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn. And we would just love to thank you all for joining us and give our massive, massive, heartfelt thanks to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out via the link in the chat, and of course the panels down below for some awesome sim racing gear on their website. So please help us out. Click that link. It really, really helps out the sim racing community and the MRL as well.
Well, there we go. We got the session countdown timer with a dry race. You know, strategies that all have been thought through prior to the event. Whereas if you've got rain, you know, you got to do a little bit more on the fly planning. But right now, strategies should be dialed in pretty much as quickly as they can, and then obviously a formation lap before we get underway for 26 laps, I think it is, around Silverstone. And well, Striff, I think it's just a case of who's the most consistent. I really think this track lends itself to consistency more than anything, with just some of these corners, particularly Cop stands out in my mind as somewhere that we've seen, you know, ourselves just commentating other races around this track, that, you know, someone gets caught off guard by how their car is handling, whether it's tire wear, fuel load, something like that, ERS management. If someone accidentally, you know, leaves the ERS on and they're just going too fast out of Cops, it's so easy to spin and bin it into the wall there.
This one time I saw, you know, consistency, you talked about consistency, man. Coming out of Chapel one time through the hangar straight, just a little story time with Striff real quick. I saw a driver actually stop their car to take out another driver on a straight in a special event. It was wild. I think Alex Bitto might have been the driver that was taking it. Caused a safety car. You never know what could happen around Silverstone, and I imagine there's going to be a couple of guys laughing at that story. It was it was a while back. If Dirk's in the chat, Dirk will know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, back to the formation lab. We have 5 drivers on this grid, starting on the medium compound tires. That's it. Everybody else is on softs.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't blame them. The softs here, pretty strong tire. You can go for a long while on that red wood compound, and usually you'd see, you know, the tires, you want to get off of the softs before the halfway point to, you know, make maximum use of all the pace, and we'll probably see it here as well. But they can go a little bit extra if, you know, there's a safety car at a weird point in this race. The strategy option is there, so we'll just have to see how everything pans out. But the typical strategy, soft medium, very possible here. A one stop, obviously the favor, and a few of these drivers just reversing that strategy. Darian Alfie in 12th, I'll have my eye on him to see where he finishes after that pit window. But it's all about consistency. If you start 12th on mediums and you crash out, it's not going to mean anything. Whereas if everyone else in front of you crashes out, well, starting on softs would have done the same thing. But here we go, Striff, as we all get lined up on the grid.
Well, Neon, Jake, your front row right now, it is the McLaren and the Red Bull. The lights are coming on, the engines are getting fired up, and we'll have to see how the lights go for us on this potential desync. Well, they're out, and we have a car away. What has happened here? Jake is off racing, and I am not entirely sure. Has he had a disconnection? He has. We have had a reported disconnect. Yeah, so he has had a disconnection. We are off racing here around Silverstone. Pavel looking early here at Azir. Neon with a good launch already here off the line, but Pavel around the outside of Azir right now on the opening of this race. Is there going to be any movement? Swifty's come together with the Ferrari. He has gone round, and he is looking the opposite direction.
Well, that's not a... Well, I was about to say it's not a brilliant start for the Red Bulls, but well, depending on how you look at it, the disconnection here. Jake back into the session. We'll just have to see when he gets re-control of that car. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the grid, there's this big battle forming as we've got the Haas, a few Sam looking at Scars. And, well, they're keeping it nice and tidy. Is that Hennes? Hennes dropping like a stone. What's happened to him? There it is.
Cops
being a huge problem already for the home race for the McLaren.
Cops, we talked about it in qualifying, and here we are talking about it on the opening lap of this race. Jake now is dropping slowly as if he were a blue flag to let Neon back into lead of this race. Full throttle down now. That is what you call absolute excellent sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen. Jake now reassuming his second place position on this grid. Welcome to the MRL. We have Tuptus, Eruption coming through Club. Wheel to wheel right now. Jean has the front row seats. Unicorn, we're coming through turn one. Eruption on the inside. Where's Jean in this? Is he going to get the Mercedes? This is looking very intense as we come through now. Sector 1 around the outside for Jean. He will have the inside back through the loop now. Very nice for Jean here. Eruption holding with everything he's got. He's now on the outside of that Haas.
Well, he's used a lot of his battery there. But here he goes. He's looking for it now around the outside. Again, Eruption looking for it. He's got a little bit of the track. Would be surprised if he didn't get a warning for that one. But he is ahead as they come through Lovefield into Woodcote. And he is well and truly ahead of the Haas. But he's using even more battery shift to just stay ahead of Jean. And you've got to wonder whether this is worth it. The track position, he's just within a tenth of Tuptus ahead. And he needs to stay there if he wants DRS. But the racing point, Eruption and Tuptus, they battled so long last time that Tuptus is now out of DRS range. So when that gets enabled later in half a lap's time, could cause them a real problem here as Scars, Pavel, they're going to go side by side down into Stowe. The Alfa Romeo on the inside of the Ferrari. It's Italian team versus Italian team, and he doesn't quite get the move done as they go down into the Vale chicane. Crampy, well, he's on a charge. He's up into 17th, but XTXP is giving him a little battle for 16th. The mediums versus the softs there. The softs winning out, as you would expect.
A lot of action right now as everyone's still in close proximity. Tuptus right now, 1.3 seconds the gap to 6th position, holding up a very good portion of this grid. Sam wanting to keep himself with Scars and Pavel. Pavel with Azir, of course, Azir with Jake. Jake, 1.4 off the rear of Neon right now, after the AI had given him an early jump off the line.
Yeah, P2 right now for him. Neon, well and truly ahead. He's absolutely storming right now. He just needs to maintain this pace and nurse the tires and make sure that they get to where they need to go. But right now, looking very, very strong in that McLaren. And obviously, it's a home race for the McLaren squad in terms of the constructor as well, as Hennes, obviously one half of that team in Tier 2. Neon, we've already has his home race down at Zandvoort. And so far, it's calmed down very quickly, Striff. Everyone just sort of getting ready for this train that does like to form around Silverstone.
Arian Alfie right now wanting to get ahead of Rackety. Here we go. Rackety now in 13th position. He has that Ferrari breezing by him as there has been a yellow flag. XTXP has appeared to have an issue. He has dropped position massively. And, well, no damage on the front end. Maybe a little bit of tire wear as it looks like it was through Maggots Beckett's chapel.
Yeah, not quite sure. Just caught the end of it, but he's lost positions. He's behind Swifty now, who had that position problem earlier on. Everyone else, Scott, still looking at the rear of Pavel here. The Alfa Romeo has been hungry for P4 for some time now, and Pavel's not too far off dropping DRS to Azir, and that would make him very, very vulnerable to the Alfa Romeo behind him. Azir, he's behind Jake right now, and if these guys start battling, this is only good news for Neon up at the front. Crampy Liam getting very, very close as Crampy goes around the outside of Brooklands. Nicely done from him in the other Alfa Romeo. Aliens calling it quits in the pit lane. Tough to come back from a gap like that.
That's a very hard call as a driver. I feel lap 4 of a race now. You're in the Williams. It's a home circuit for the team. And you're out of the race already.
Yeah, Azir up the inside. His teammate really going for it on Jake here. Jake under a lot of pressure for P2 and just making that Red Bull wide enough to stop him going down the inside into the Vale chicane. The Red Bull, though, how long can he hold this Williams off? You know, this race didn't start the way he wanted. It probably took him out of the zone a little bit. And now defending P2 whilst there's Neon, someone who's hunting down that championship from the man we're on board with right now. Azir, 152 points for the Williams, 117 for Neon. Every race right now, an opportunity for Neon to claw that gap back. He's had a few issues in some of the past races, but there goes the Spaniard past Jake. P2 for the Williams, P3 now for the Red Bull.
Well, it was an easy move for Azir there. The use of DRS down the Wellington Straight, of course. Now into second position, 2.5 seconds the gap to the McLaren ahead, and well, he has a very clear-cut mission, and that is to catch up with that race leader in Neon.
Yeah, and he needs to, because well, DRS, he wants that DRS to just reel him in, and there's another problem. It's Darian Alfie off oh my goodness, Swifty, he's had a massive crash avoiding the Ferrari. I don't think he was expecting him on the track there. And well, Swifty's race has gone from bad to worse. That's his second off. He's hit the wall. I'm surprised he didn't retire. It was at quite some speed. Mark, Lil Shen, they're side by side coming through Stowe. The Alpha Tauri and the Racing Point. It's reserve versus full-time driver. And it is the full-time driver in Mark coming out on top in the Alpha Tauri.
Well, that was a very, very interesting issue. It presented itself outside of Cops. I mean, it's not an area where you don't see those things happen. Henner's had an issue early on. Darian having an issue. I don't believe he took damage. Swifty, however, I'm almost positive I saw an end plate off that Red Bull. Pavel now has scars looking at him as we come through into Brooklands. He has that look to the inside, thinks better of it. He is purple through Sector 1, that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been really looking for that P4, but he's exercising a lot of patience, and it's really the mark of an experienced driver and someone who knows that one position is not, you know, on lap 6 as well. It's not the end of everything. There's no point of ending a race just trying to get one position when, you know, the driver ahead might make a mistake at some point, or the drivers ahead might make a mistake. It might not be Pavel, it could be Jake, it could be Azir, it could be Neon. So Scott's really exercising patience, but now has he got the run? Down into Stowe. Both drivers have DRS, but it's the Ferrari around the outside, the Alfa Romeo on the inside. Can he get the exit he needs down to the Vale chicane? He's still behind. Pavel, a little bit of a lockup, making Scars look for a switchback, but he's not finding it. He might have actually lost a little bit of time in the search for that move, but he's still going to have DRS. He'll reel that Ferrari back in no time with the assisted DRS and slipstream. But he's still looking for it, Jeff. He's very, very, making intentions very clear to the Ferrari ahead. He wants that P4, and he's piling the pressure on.
Yeah, he's just keeping consistent pressure, and I have to say that pressure right now is paying off well for him. You can see the energy reserves for these two drivers. Scar's doing a little bit better on his end, but he does have Husam on his rear. He needs to really take these opportunities carefully, because if he doesn't, he could lose a position just the same.
Crampy, meanwhile, still on a charge XCXP. He's currently looking for a way back past the Brit. But it is the Alfa Romeo ahead into P13, considering he started dead last on this grid. He's doing a very good job at just pulling his way up from the bottom. And with the medium tyres now, Darren Alfie with that spin. I mentioned at the start, no point in starting them. He was starting in P12. Now he's all the way down in 17th place in the Ferrari. Crampy, though, from 20th to 13th, he's on the reverse tyre strategy. He started on the mediums. We'll have to see when he opts for the soft scars again. Well, who's this? Hugh Sam's into the pits. He's going very early, and the undercut can really work for you around here.
Interesting call. We'll see who responds to this. Very interesting call here. Neon 2.8 ahead of Azir right now. Azir getting that second position from Jake has not been able to do anything about this lead.
And a quick mention on Jake, apparently a little bit of an issue. Obviously, we saw him disconnect at the start of the lobby, and that might have caused some problems for some of the other drivers here. Jake's car being desynced around the place for those people. So fingers crossed it doesn't create too many problems, but it is something to be of note. So that if some drivers appear to, try and avoid nothing, it might be Jake's car that they can see, even if it is on the wrong place on our screen. Meanwhile, Scars is dropping off the back of Pavel here a little bit, Striff. He just doesn't seem to have been having the aggression and the pace he had to keep up with the Ferrari in the prior few laps. Although through Maggots and Beckett's, I'm going to eat my words. He's absolutely breezed through there in comparison to the Ferrari, and he's got a much better edge.
Oh!
Chapel, but what happened there? It was like he was hit.
What on earth have we just seen? What have I just seen? I don't have words.
Did he get hit?
There was contact with, I don't even know. That entire front
That car got hit by something. I just don't think that something was on the same playing field that everyone else is on. And, well, Scars into the pits. He's going to have to get a wing change. There's a lot of time lost, but it's not over for the Alfa Romeo driver. But I think everyone is surprised by that one. I'm sure there's a few confused people in the chat, and definitely over at Alfa Romeo, they'll be upset with that one, to say the least. But the show must go on. Jean on the rear of Toptus. Let's see what the Haas driver can do. His teammate came into the pits earlier. 14th for him right now on the fresh mediums.
Well, we're going to definitely look into this briefly. Just for a moment, ladies and gentlemen, in the stream, we greatly appreciate your support. There is, I will say this, only so much we can do at these situations. And thank you for everyone being here, and I don't have a lot of words for that. I'm not sure what to say.
It's something that you very rarely see a lot of drivers now into the pit lane, and, well, taps us a little bit too quickly into the pit lane. 5 seconds for the racing point there. Neon as well, he pitted from leader things, and if he gets an undercut here on Azir, well, that gap for P1 could extend even further.
Well, this is going to be a very crucial now situation as Neon has come in. He's got those mediums fitted. Everybody now, 6 drivers are going to be ahead. Well, more than that. Let's see how he falls into this grid. He's going to have a little bit of traffic. It wasn't, super far ahead. It wasn't like he came out and leaded things in clean air. He's going to have a little bit of traffic to move through on this fresh rubber. I imagine he'll be able to cut through it quite quickly.
Well, he didn't really have a problem with it last week at Austria, did he? Austria, you could argue probably a little bit easier to overtake at the Red Bull Ring than it here is at Silverstone. But at the same time, still didn't prove him any problems in that McLaren, and he is, like a hot knife through butter when it comes to the traffic after a pit window. But Jake, he's pushing to try and catch up to Neon there. The Red Bull looking good for a podium. Would be his 3rd of the season if he did get it.
Pavel on the hunt with Hugh Sam in front of him in the Haas right now, and now we have Azir and Mark coming in. Lil Shen, I imagine Max O'Connor will fall. No, he hasn't. Max O'Connor has opted to stay out in the Mercedes. Here goes Pavel on the rear of Hugh Sam coming down into Stowe, and it's an easy move into 12th position. Crampy from the rear of this grid has now made his way all the way into 2nd position, and I imagine he would love a safety car at the moment.
Well, Neon's through, and the Williams, I think he's going to lose it to Jake as well. I don't think staying out was the call for Azir, as he pops out of the pit lane in 9th, just ahead of Pavel. And he's a little bit behind Jake as well. Hooks the curb as well as he comes through Village and settles the Williams a little bit. But Neon, 3.8 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor. Behind him, Darian Alfie next on his list. Pavel Azir.
Yeah, they're having a wheel-to-wheel exchange through Brooklands right now. As we come through Luffield, Azir in 9th position, Pavel 10th. This is a nice little train we're seeing.
Yeah, you've got to expect this when you come into Silverstone. You get these trains, and now the battle. Can Pavel have a look here into the opening? It's a back. He's smarter than that. It's a very tricky place to overtake. Pretty much impossible, particularly without contact. And, well, the Ferrari, again, someone exercising great patience, and you love to see it. Liam, XTXP on 10 lap old softs, really making them work right now in that Renault. Very impressive to see. Meanwhile, back for the battle for P9. On the bottom of the points, you Sam on the rear of Pavel. He's not too far behind. And he's been looking at these battles, or he and Instrument, both the Haas drivers. Very, very impressive today so far. Now on this, strategy that puts them a little bit further down the grid than maybe it would be where they would finish. But, very much on for a double points finish for the Haas drivers.
Neon right
they've
now.
impressed me so far, Jeff.
They have been very impressive, the Haas drivers. Neon right now looking at Darian. Tire degradation definitely playing a role here as he will breeze by into Brooklands. And I wanted to talk really quick, just to jump back to Pavel and Azir. Pavel has now dropped off the rear of that Williams. Azir had a big shake coming out of Stowe, which is what gave Pavel the run. Pavel had to lift his throttle, and now there's been a huge issue. Well, there's 2 cars collected here. Jean and Mark have come together. Have they come together, or was there some kind of avoiding action? It does not appear that any driver has damage.
Yeah, neither car damaged, at least visibly. Maybe a little scuff on a front wing here or there, but not a problem. And well, Crampy, apparently... Oh yeah, Max O'Connor into the pit lane. Just making sure he doesn't get a speeding ticket there, as it were, into it. And Crampy, for the rear of this grid strip, is now leading the race. He hasn't pitted yet, and it's worth noting, but at his home race, the Alfa Romeo really doing impressive things. It was an Alfa Romeo that won Tier 3 last night. Could we see the same again just this time? Instead of from pole position, it's from the rear of the grid.
A couple of Brits right now, Crampy Rackety, here on their home race in 1 and 2 position. Of course, pit stops yet to come through for them. They would really love a safety car, as Liam now has been taken for 4th from the former race leader, Neon.
Well, you mentioned that they're a safety car right now would really shake things up. Henners is out.
Looks like he might have called it in the pit lane. No,
I don't think he did.
it's not the pit lane. It's not the pit lane. It is outside of club. It is at the start-finish line, and there it is. A VSC has been deployed as we see Swifty cross the line. The car has now been removed from circuit.
It depends how long this lasts as to whether this is good news for Crampy or Rackety. I imagine 13 laps on softs. It's possible, but it's not ideal. So it's a tough call. Is he going to make it? He is. Crampy's in. Rackety's in as well. This is probably the best opportunity they're going to get. A safety car is pretty hard to bring out here. Crampy, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, though.
That's horrible.
I think he was 1 mile an hour over, and that is tough.
Scars just took a speeding. He took a drive-through penalty, Scars, and Well, that is a nail in the coffin, isn't it, for how his race has really ended up after that unfortunate collision that we had seen. What an interesting shakedown. Neon is back in the lead of things now, of course, and 3-lap old mediums. Liam, second. Darian, third. Jake, fourth.
Well, Jake needs to make short work of this traffic before Azir catches him up, because if he doesn't and he lets the Spaniard get into DRS range, that's a big problem for the Red Bull. You know, championship leader Azir, he's got a lot of time scars, calls it quits in the pit lane. You hate to see it, but with the luck that he's had in this race, I can't say I'm surprised, and you know, he probably just wants to forget about this one and move on to next week.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to make those decisions to come into the pit lane and retire that car. It's twice now we've seen it today. We saw it from Aliens quite early on lap 4. We've seen it now on lap 14.
Well, we're pretty much at that midway point. We just passed it. Lap 13 would have been the crossover for that one. And, well, the pit window is well and truly open. It's been open for most drivers already. Liam, Darian, Alfie, the only two. Oh, and XTXP as well in 16th on the starting softs. He hasn't pitted yet. Crampy on mark. It's not over for the Alfa Romeo. He swings to the inside into Stowe, but he might have done it a little bit too aggressively, loses traction. And, well, Racketty's come past the pair of them in that Renault.
Fresh contact
for him and Crampy.
Mark. Well, I'm afraid he was a very large loser in this equation, because he has taken a front right end plate off this car with Crampy coming through up that inside.
Well, it's, sometimes just the way it goes. This took us on Eruption. He's up his inside coming into Brooklands. A little bit of a wheel bang there, but no damage on either car. They are very tight as they come through Luffield. Now on the outside, can the Racing Point get his move done, or is Eruption going to hold on to 8th place for now? Side by side through Cops isn't exactly how you want to do it, but it is how they're going to go. Toptus very wide. Where's Eruption? He's back now. He is down in 9th. So a move done for the Racing Point. A little bit touch and go, but both drivers are managing to work their way around each other, keep everything clean and tidy. Liam, Darian, Alfie, they've exchanged places for C2.
See if Jake's able to catch up to these drivers. We've had a couple of...
caught Jake.
Azir has caught Jake quite well. I want to see... We've had a couple of very close calls and potential safety car situations. I imagine a couple of these drivers right now wondering why Henner's retirement wasn't considered a safety car. The car was on track.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him. But the way it was, like you say, right on that inside line on the pit wall, if you came side by side on a club onto what is now the Hamilton straight, you get a nasty surprise. Jake, here he goes, and he is clearing the first of the two cars on the alternate strategy. Liam really struggling right now. He got passed by Darian Alfie. Now he's been passed by Jake. And now Azir's having a look up his inside through Luffield, but he's not going to have a way through. Liam's still very much entitled to defend that position, even if it may not be for net P4. It is still for P4 as it stands.
The thing is that Darian pulled out such a gap once he did overtake Liam. Jake on the rear of Liam, he was held up a bit. Now 1.5 seconds nearly is the separation, which is huge because you lose that DRS. Here goes Azir now pushing through into Stowe, and he doesn't want to get trapped behind this Alpha Tower either. We'll see if Liam calls it into the pit lane at any point soon here, and he's staying out. Pavel's just taken 3. Darian's on the way in finally, as we say it, and he's going to be getting off his starting tires.
Hugh Sam defending from Pavel. That's why I picked up the 3 seconds, because he's side by side. Who is that? Is that Rackety? Rackety rejoining the track. A couple of issues there coming through Stowe. Pavel and Hugh Sam were side by side as they came through Stowe. That's what caused Pavel to run wide, and then Hugh Sam just bounced off the curb of the Vale chicane, tapped Pavel, and they both went off a little bit. And it's now topped us through as he's past Liam. Now the AlphaTauri really dropping. Got to say, it's time to come into the pits for him. Darian Alfian.
Well, he took 5 seconds on the way in, and he is now in 15th position on the soft compound tires for the remainder of this race.
Well, again, everything's sort of starting to calm down a little bit as we're starting to get to that final stage. Eruption on the rear of Pavel. Pavel hasn't had a good lap or so, and now he's got Eruption on his debut for Mercedes up in the points. DRS enabled, looking for P7 now, and it's been a pretty impressive drive so far from him. And you know, if I was in that team and the combined constructors, I'd be pretty happy with how he's performing right now. Who is that? I think that is Liam into the pit lane, so it's another place for all of these drivers behind him.
I believe we're being told that the Haas driver of Jean is potentially behind a desynced car in Jake, and that's what seemed to have happened to Scars. But we'll have to see if doesn't look like Jean's having any issues as far as our eyes can see.
Well, you could say the same for Scars as well, but it all just sort of ended poorly. So, Sean, if that's the case, apparently Max O'Connor might be suffering with a similar issue as well. So fingers crossed they can keep themselves all right, and it doesn't cause them any problems. But it will be, incredibly unfortunate if we see that incident happen again. Meanwhile, this battle going on in the midfield between Husam, Tuttus, Pavel, and Eruption, also within DRS range of one another, and it could go down to the wire as we're on lap 18 of 26 here around Silverstone. Not too long to go, and Eruption, he's got a lot of pace in that Mercedes right now.
Well, the late phases and stints of these races are when you see drivers start to take risks. Eruption pushing with everything he can right now to catch up to this train behind Husam. Husam in 4th position the entirety of this train, also with penalties right now. Gap to leader from first down to XTXP is over 1 minute. However, nobody active on track has been lapped. The fastest lap of the race is a 26.743. That is being held on to by the Williams of Azir. Take a look at penalties. Husam 3 seconds, Tuftus 8, Pavel with 3, Eruption with 3 seconds, as well as Crampy with 5. Max O'Connor has 3 seconds, Rackety with 6, Darian has 5, and Liam with 3.
You mentioned there that Azir's got that fastest lap, and for the championship, that's pretty important with Neon being out in front. Azir minimizing the points damage to his championship lead that the Dutchman is currently inflicting if it was to finish like this. And right now 5.5 seconds the gap to Jake, 6.1 if you're talking about the gap to Azir. So Neon has been doing a lot of work. We had that break, he came out of it strong at Austria. He's coming out again here for the second week in a row, dominant throughout qualifying, dominant in the race. And the only sort of wavering form we saw was that spinning qualifying coming out of Chapel. Other than that, he's been fine. I think that's just a showcase of how hard he's pushing that car to get those astonishing qualifying laps.
Well, practice does pay off. I think any driver that does put in the time, whether it be Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, America's APAC, you'll see them doing well in standings. If you ask any of the top 10 and you say, hey, how much do you practice? They'll probably tell you they practice a good amount.
Yeah, you don't even have to be one of those drivers who practices, because just to know that the reason you're being beat is because every time you load up the game, guy at the top of the standings is already on it. In that standings mode, but Tuptus, Husam, well, they're exchanging. Last driver, P4, under threat. Tuptus, he got ahead, fell back into the position. Swifty now, he's going very slowly. Quite sure what's happened to the Red Bull. We're here. Down Vale, but he's still got that entire front wing, so it can't have been too bad for him.
Tough test, looking quite tight at Husam right now. Pavel a little bit further in the rearview mirror. Here we go. A run now coming out of the racing point, looking to that inside as easy as he likes, and he will take that 4th position from this Haas. And well, we have another exchange wheel to wheel coming through Stowe right now. Eruption, Pavel, they are having a race down into the Vale chicane, and now, well, through the chicane, Eruption on the inside as we come through Club. Is he gonna get this move? There's still wheel to wheel coming out of Club now, crossing that start finish line into lap 21 through turn 1 now, around the outside for the Ferrari. Does he get that move back into 6th position? Eruption, what an opportunity he tried to take there, and it is going to drop them off the rear of Husam ahead. This fighting is not what they want.
Well, it's the second time this race that overtake hasn't worked out for Eruption, and he's gone side by side with the driver all the way from Stowe through to Abbey and Farm. So he really needs to learn. That move has to be clinical. It has to be done and dusted by the time you get to Club, rather than taking it all the way down the Hamilton straight into the first few corners. Crampy, he's just taken Jean for P9. Rackety, he's taken Darian now for P12. And, well, for Eruption, going back to him, it hasn't gone out well for him, but Darian's going to have a look back at the Renault into Brooklands, up the inside, around the outside now of Luffield. And, well, there's a little bit of a wheel bag between the two. They've caught it. Well, Darian, he won't be finding a way past, and just needs to exercise a little bit of patience to ensure that he doesn't send himself into the wall. He's already been there once as Eruption. Well, this time, there it is. That's the clinical move I was talking about. He's got past Pavel, and Pavel will have no answer coming down into the Vale chicane.
Eruption put a lot of pressure on Pavel through on the last lap, and now coming through a little bit easier. We saw them wheel to wheel coming through here last lap, and Pavel starting to drop just a touch off the rear of Eruption, but of course maintaining that DRS range will be crucial.
Yeah, the problem is 2.5 seconds to Husam ahead. Husam, he's got 1.1 seconds after, to Tuptus, and this gap starting to break up. So the battles that you got to keep your eyes on if you're watching at home. Jake versus Azir. They've lost it out to Neon right now, unless Neon has a mistake. Pretty much game over for P1, but Jake and Azir fighting it out for those podium positions. Very, very interesting as well. Eruption, Pavel still going at it. Darian, Alfie, Rackety, they're still fighting away. Again, for the second time in a row, Brooklands, the place of attack for the Ferrari. This time, though, it's not in response to an earlier move. And, well, he's done and dusted. Rackety struggling through that section of track this time around.
Lap 22 out of 26, Neon in the McLaren coming through Club to start the 23rd lap of this race with a 7.2. Now, it's consistently increasing, 7.4 second gap to his nearest competitor in Jake, who is currently holding off Azir for that podium second position.
Substance though, 8 seconds of penalties. That's what opens up that P4 spot. Again, not a podium. It's unfortunate for the drivers behind him, but they'll still be looking at it and grinning. The only benefit he's got is the freshest tires. Crampy, 3 seconds time penalties for him. Well, he just picked up a 3-second time penalty, I should say. And that adds 11 seconds to his total time at the end of the session, which is going to cost him big time, Striff, given that there's at least 2 drivers within that time. And given that he's P9, it could be out of the points for the Alfa Romeo driver, as he has a bold look up the inside of the Alfa, the racing point of Lil Shen there. Very, very bold. Almost ended badly. Hasn't ended badly, though, for him. And he's going to go around the outside of Woodcote, down towards Cops. And on the racing point, he's going to stick it to his inside. Wow. He's not going anywhere. And now, as they go down into Magnus and Beckett, well, there you go. You have to back out at some point. And Lil Shen decided that was the moment. It wasn't going to go on there. But Crampy playing a little bit of chicken, questioning how hard Lil Shen was going to defend that place. And to be fair to him, that Racing Point Reserve put up one hell of a fight.
To hold it through on the inside there, the way Lil Shen did, is very touch and go. It is a huge tempt of fate, and I have to say it paid off quite well for him, and I think we all enjoyed seeing that.
Now, On to lap 24 for these guys. Neon, when he's already through and done sector 1 this time. We haven't looked at him much. We've mentioned him in fleeting brief moments, but well, he's been dominating this race from the front shift from start to finish, and he's only got to do it for 2.5 more laps, and another P1 is his. It'll make him the driver with the most wins. He equaled his year's 4 last week. It'd make it 5 if he got it here as well. Swifty, 3-second of time penalties for him, adding salt to injury. It's not been a good race for the Red Bull driver. Teammate Jake started off with a desync, held on to P2 though. And he held on for a little while longer.
Has 11 seconds in penalties. Is really not going to be good for him come the end of this one. I will say one thing, of course, ladies and gentlemen in the chat viewing along, thank you so much for being here with us for this Tier 2 Round 12 race. More penalties coming through. Mark and Liam. We have Tier 1 action tomorrow, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. British summertime, 9 p.m. for those of you in Central Europe, and of course 3 p.m. in the afternoon for those of you in the Eastern region here in North America, like myself in Canada. And I'd love to take a moment to give a massive shout out to Next Level Racing, our fantastic partners. Check them out if you haven't already. Click that link in the chat. It really helps us out and helps out the sim racing community. They've got some awesome stuff there. So Next Level Racing, everyone, give them some love. Of course, if you're new to the stream, give us a hand, hit that follow button, because we have a ton of racing intensity for you here on the channel. This is the 3rd of 5 British Grand Prix races we have for you this week, not including F2, which will also be around Silverstone. We also have the endurance race this weekend on Saturday. If I'm not mistaken, we are going to be going around Shanghai.
China, it's a track we haven't seen for a little while, given its early position in the calendar. Be nice to see it again, obviously. It would have been potentially nicer to see Imola there, but alas, not in this game. Meanwhile, Neon's crossed onto the last lap of this race. And as he is right on the tail of Jake, both drivers sitting about 60% on the battery, fairly even in terms of ERS. And the Spaniard push. ERS is in his favor. DRS, sorry. Now ERS, is using it up to try and catch Jake. That Red Bull driver in P2. Eruption, he's doing a similar thing on Husam. Again, the ERS, very similar there, although admittedly a lot less.
Final lap of the race.
Down into Brooklyn.
Everyone, well, there's a few gaps on grid right now. You have Eruption on Husam, you have Crampy holding off Lil Shen. There's a penalty at play there, and then you have Rackety with XTXP. They've just exchanged with the two teammates. And Neon now, he is coming through Sector 2 just out of Cops.
Was here a bit of a snap coming through Cops, but he's very tight to the rear of Jake. Both have got that fuel light on. It's going to be won or lost into Stowe pretty much. And Jake, what an exit he's got. Anamagas and Beckett's now. They're both just dumping their ARS out of the car. DRS, though, really reeling his ear in. He's not got it down into Stowe. Can he get it into the Vale chicane? And I think the answer is a wholehearted no. Neon wins again. A very dominant performance from the Dutchman. He has really found his stride. A great run of form from him. Azir using a bit too much ERS through the final corner. Nearly sends it. But he's beaten Jake on... Well, Jake didn't have penalties.
I do believe it was the disconnection for Jake that had caused this issue on the timing tower. That is Neon, Jake, Azir, the top 3 as far as I am aware. What a race this has been. Let's take a look now. Neon, Jake, Azir. I know it reads differently. Husam will take 4th here around Silverstone. Eruption crossed 5th, up to 6th. Pavel takes 7th. Lil Shen in 8th. Jean in 9th. And it was Crampy. At the end of the equation, he got the point. Very good drive from him, all things considered. Starting at the back of this grid, having that unfortunate issue in qualifying. Max O'Connor 11th after a very, very up and down race for I think a lot of the grid today. Darian, Mark, Liam, XTXP, Rackety, Swifty, all here. Some retirements. We had Scars, Aliens, call it in the pit lane, and we had Henners with the unfortunate issue in the final turn. What a race.
Oh, Crappy getting driver of the day. Yeah, really good race. A brilliant drive from a lot of people. Neon, obviously, here enjoying his time up on the podium, and obviously Azir and Jake as well. Nicely done to join them. But Eruption, what a debut drive from him in that full-time Mercedes seat, as well as Husam. Really good drive from him. I think he picked up 4th in the end with Tuptus, the reserve, picking up 11 seconds of penalties. So he got dropped down a couple of places because I do believe he crossed 4th, but he finished 6th overall. But yeah, some really stellar drives from a lot of these guys, and they deserve a lot of praise. Fingers crossed we get some interviews going in a moment with Neon, Azir, and Jake. That podium, those 3 podium finishes. But yeah, Eruption from 10th to 5th, and Hugh Sam 6th to 4th. Great drives from the pair of them.
Absolutely fantastic race. Of course, we're just going to have interviews and a raid in a short moment. We hope you'll stay tuned for that. And then tomorrow, we'll be back, of course, with Tier 1 action. What a race. 3 DNFs. It's Scars. That was a tough nut to crack. That one, I imagine everyone was a little bit confused there. Hate when those things do happen to affect these racings. All right.
Yeah, it's a real shame to see someone's race ended in such a, I don't think there's anything. Obviously, we can't see what he sees. Maybe after the race, he'll share something over in the Discord. But it's just so unfortunate for something that probably wasn't his fault. It's just an issue like that. It's demoralizing for a driver, particularly someone who's on such great pace. In that race, he qualified P3, and he looked on for some nice points. A great finish, but wasn't to be today for the South African.
Looking to see if we have Azir available for an interview. Hold on one moment and see if we can get him in before we go ahead and speak to our other podium finishers here. Thank you very much to everybody who has been following along the action. CMK97, thank you so much for your Twitch Prime. We greatly appreciate the sub and the support of the community and the league, as well as all of you who followed today. Steelers fan, Shinobi Ninja, XTXP with the raid. We had Emmers come through, as well as Crampy with some bits, Tuptus. Thank you all so much for coming through, and all the viewers. I do not believe we are going to have an interview from Azir, so we are going to go ahead now and speak to our 2nd place finisher in this race, albeit the timing tower with a little bit of a confusion at the end of this campaign. Now joining us, Swedish driver, Red Bull driver, and 2nd place finisher here in Silverstone, Jake. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm very sweaty.
Long race around Silverstone. Starting on the front row in 2nd position. I'm being told Azir's here now. We'll get with him after. But starting 2nd, a bit of an issue there at the beginning of the race for you. Why don't you just talk us through this race?
Oh yeah, well, the start was not good as Steam disconnected me. And it kind of sucked because the first 2 sectors, my AI used half of my ERS and half of my fuel, basically, and it kind of prevented me from staying with Neon, but then I was just trying to do my own race, not really fight anyone, and the last few laps Acer was behind me, and I think he was trying to do a last lap overtake on the hangar straight, but I just saved so much ERS that I could just spam my way.
It was a very good race. I'd say this was a race that came down to a good chunk of strategy. We didn't really have any major dramas resulting in a safety car. We had a VSC, if I'm not mistaken, due to Henners and his issue coming through out of club. But it was a very interesting race to watch. Now, Silverstone, a very flowing circuit. How are you looking ahead for Hungary?
Uh, well, I think I'll be good. I was good last season, so I think I'll be good this season.
So just looking to carry on with solid performance in Hungary. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations, Jake, on the second place finish, and we'll hope to see you up here again next week or soon.
Thank you.
Joining us is the third place finisher here in Silverstone. There was a bit of a timing error, as we've mentioned a couple times, with Jake and Azir at the line. Azir, welcome. Third place finish at the line for you for Williams today. Talk us through it. How was it?
Yeah, it was a thug race. The start was good, and Jake managed to undercut me in the pit stop, and then I just tried to save a bit of ERS and fuel, and I tried to attack him in the last laps, but he managed to defend it.
How are you looking for Hungary next week? It's a very different style of circuit to Silverstone that we raced today.
Yeah, I don't know. I only want to continue with the podiums and scoring some points for the constructor championship, and that's it.
Right now, Neon and you seem to be the two big dueling drivers on the grid right now. Do you have any, thoughts for Hungary versus Neon? Anything for that rivalry that has started to take form here? You and him have been trading wins now. Does that apply pressure?
No, no, I think I can battle with him, and you know, there are a lot of races to battle with him.
Well, congratulations on another very strong performance today, Azir. It's a Williams podium today and a good race from you. So we'll hope to see you again next week or in the near future.
Thanks very much.
All right, that was Azir, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are going to jump into an interview with the race winner here in Silverstone, the McLaren driver. And as per usual, I'm going to hand it off to my lovely co-commentator, Mr. Unicorn. But Neon, from me to you, sir, congratulations on a very, very consistent drive today.
Well, yeah, Neon, congratulations. That's twice in a row. How does that one feel? Home race for the constructor, of course. You got to be feeling pretty happy after that one.
Of course. Great race. Very happy with the result. Hoped
Well-
Hannes would finish up a little higher on his home circuit as well, but wasn't meant to be. But great result for the team.
Well, we came out of that break week, and Austria, you just seem to come out of it firing on all cylinders. A dominant race there. You've continued that run of good form right now. Can you carry it forward next week into Hungary? Qualifying, the race, all of it. It's been so strong over the past 2 weeks. Next week, is it the same?
Let's hope so. I haven't done any practice yet. The only thing I do know is that qualifying is going to be on mediums, so it's going to be either 1 or 2 shot quali on the mediums. So that brings a lot of pressure in quali. So got to practice that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the championship now, we're, around that halfway point. There's a lot of points already been scored. There's a lot of points yet to be scored. Azir, you've closed the gap again to him now. The Williams still 170 points. You're now on 143. For you, it's so far it's been podium or nothing in terms of point scoring. Looking forward to the rest of the races. Do you, is it still on? Is that championship the goal?
Of course, it is the goal. Let's hope only podiums from now on. Nothing else.
Nothing else but podiums. Well, you've been on an amazing run of form in the past 2 races. We'll see if you can make it 3 next week. Neon, again, brilliant race, hugely dominant. Just congratulations. And I'm sure we'll see you here soon.
Well, that wraps up interviews for a thrilling Tier 2 Round 12 British Grand Prix. Now we've got Tier 1 tomorrow, Unicorn. And I don't know what to expect after 3 very different races. Tier 3, we had a rain start, dry finish. Americas, we had a dry start, rain finish. Now we've had Tier 2 come ahead with a full dry campaign that was entirely down to strategy. So I'm very, very, happy with how these races have gone. It really sets the bar for an interesting race tomorrow for Tier 1. I mean, we've seen the power of DRS and the difficulty in overtaking around this track. We'll have to see how the Tier 1 drivers and, of course, APAC this coming Sunday cope with the race. Of course, we'll have Hungary next week. But that is going to be it for us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bid you farewell with the outro, of course, and a raid, but not before giving a fantastic shout out to our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out via the link in the chat, and of course the panels down below. They have an amazing line of sim racing products. We're going to get the prediction sorted out for everybody in just a few moments as well while we get that outro dialed in. But that is it for me, other than, of course, if you're looking for any replays or highlights or guides on getting as quick as some of the racers you may find here, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. We're on all the socials, Insta, TikTok, Twitter, you name it. You can find us on social media. Anything from you, Mr. Unicorn?
No, just a brilliant race. Very, really spices up the championship. Just to add fuel to the fire. I've just looked at the Racing Hub results. Last time Neon won 2 races in a row. He finished outside the points in the next 3 before doing it again. So if history repeats itself, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, amazing race, and I'm very much looking forward to Tier 1 tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next one.